Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be, You Never Loved Me. Well, I've got an email here from a woman who got involved with a guy who even told her in the beginning that he wasn't serious. And actually, I guess after they hooked up the first time, he basically admitted, hey, I was just thinking I'd shag you once, but you're actually you're cool. I like hanging out with you. So he continued seeing her for about 3 months. And because they spent all this time together, she started assuming that he was her boyfriend. Well, obviously it didn't end well. So I've got an email from her that I'm going to answer. Then I got a quote that I wrote, obviously, on this topic. Then when I go, after I finish the quote, we'll go through the email. And the quote says, you should enter all of your relationships with your eyes and senses fully open so you can pay attention to the other person's words, actions, and true intentions. If you allow yourself to become blinded by or hijacked by your emotions, this can cause you to become attached to people and circumstances that are only temporary in nature. When our emotions become involved in anything, our natural human nature is to ignore our intellect and focus only on our emotions. This often blinds us to reality. When you become attached to what was or something that is surely to dissolve in the future, you will experience suffering for not accepting reality as it is and your circumstances for what they are. That's basically what's happened to this particular woman. She kind of saw what she wanted to see, but she just assumed, since they were hanging out so much, that there was more there, and she kind of got carried away on her emotions and the fantasy that she had, projecting it onto him, but ignoring the things that he was actually telling her along the way. So she says, Dear Corey Wayne, I live in an unusual village-like place, which is basically an ex-factory with loads of rooms that people rent. It also has a music venue downstairs where everyone hangs out. Until recently, I was seeing a guy who lives there. He says he initially just wanted to shag me once, but because he found me interesting and really liked my company, it continued for 3 months. We went out on days out, and he took me to dinner. He said that he had an awesome time with me, even when I was being grumpy. Every girl just wants a guy to love her for the way she is, on her good days and her bad days. And so you can see, because women tend to be way more in touch with their emotions than guys, that they're going to get, especially a woman starts sleeping with a guy, they're going to get emotionally attached in the relationship. The key, whether you're a man or a woman, is it's like the same thing with sales, because if you look at TV or you look at any of the television commercials on, it's a constant manipulation of our emotions. Movies do it. Our characters. Next time you're watching a movie or a commercial or a TV show, notice the things that have positive music and positive themes that they're representing to you, and notice the negative things and the negative themes that they're representing to you. And what you'll see is, just like I've said many times, something I learned from Tony Robbins over 25 years ago, which is people will do more to avoid pain than they do to gain pleasure. When you watch television advertising or your favorite sitcom, it's all meant to manipulate and play upon your emotions, because when you get emotionally anchored into something, you become attached to it. And like when it comes to sales, people buy based upon emotion. In other words, they buy based upon what they feel, but they use logic and reason to justify their purchase. Like this woman, she starts to get emotionally wrapped up on what's going on in this situation, and then she starts giving her reasons why it's more than just a hookup, even though that's what this guy said. So as she's getting carried away, she's enjoying it, she's in a small village community, maybe she feels like there's not a lot of choices, not a lot of options. He made her feel really special, and so she got carried away on her emotions and ignored everything he was telling her and all the evidence that was there that he wasn't a serious relationship partner. And once that happens, then you become emotionally attached. It's like getting your heart ripped out. It's not easy to just turn around and walk away from that, especially in her case, small village where basically everybody knows everybody, and she has to see them all the time. So obviously that's a really difficult situation. So she said, he said he had an awesome time with me even when I was being grumpy. And although we didn't talk about it, I started to think he was my boyfriend. He said that he didn't want a relationship. See, he's saying these things, but he made it confusing by saying he didn't know me well enough yet. Women say that to a lot of guys, and I've done countless newsletters where they've said things like that. Maybe in the future, and what's really going on, they just don't want to hurt your feelings. And so this guy could tell that she's getting wrapped up, but if it's not going to turn into something more, it's going to cause her to back away. So what does he say? Oh, I just don't know you well enough yet. And so in her mind, she thinks, oh, wow, so there's a possibility that we could become boyfriend-girlfriend. That's why there's a lot of guys. My aunt used to work in a prison for 15 years, and a lot of those guys that were in prison really knew how to make some of the female prison guards feel special. Sometimes those guys were hooking up with the female prison guards. I mean, all kinds of crazy shit goes on. I mean, you look at that, what just happened with those two guys that were convicted of murder. One of them ended up getting killed in a shootout. She breaks these guys out of prison, in essence, because she thought that they were in love with her and that they cared about her and they were going to run off to Mexico and live happily ever after. But it's like you see people that are seemingly rational, smart people. I mean, she works in a prison. She's a guard. She's trained to deal with inmates. And yet, she got all wrapped up in a fantasy. These guys were master manipulators. She broke them out. Now she's going to probably spend the majority of her life that she has left in prison because of this. Again, she bought their bullshit story based upon the emotions that it elicited in her. And therefore, that's why she did all those illegal things. Even though she knew it was wrong, she chose to let her emotions hijack her. He said he really liked my company, and it really wasn't about sex, although I know it was great for him as well. Then about 2 weeks ago, he took me to Devon to stay with his friends, which I took as a sign that he was getting serious about me. And then the evening we got back, he said that we had to stop seeing each other because he's not in love with me and we're not right for each other. That sounds like he could tell that you were starting to totally fall for him. Probably felt guilty about it, thought, well, this is not really right to keep stringing her along. I was really heartbroken and depressed because I started to love him, but I've accepted that he's probably right. Well, that's good. He's 44 and I'm 24, and I think he needs someone who's ready for children. However, because we both live in this village environment and his room is literally down the corridor from me, I'm worried it's going to be really hard for me to move on. Interact with as many other people as you can. Because the more you interact with them, the harder it's going to be. It's just going to keep reinforcing that attachment. Especially, you want this guy, but the bottom line is he doesn't feel the same way. Your goals and your values are not aligned. The thing is, you got to admit to yourself that he told you in the very beginning what his true intentions were. And even though at least at one particular time he gave you a little bit of false hope, what it looks like from what you shared, what he specifically said, that he realized you were getting hung up on him. He's like, hey, I don't want to hurt this girl, and therefore he ended it. Since he dumped me, whenever we've hung out in the same group of people, which happens a lot, he looks at me all the time, tries to make eye contact, and talks about me to other people. On some level, he still cares, but it doesn't mean he wants to have a relationship with you. And the best thing that you can do is to pay him no attention. The quickest way to get somebody's attention is to remove yours. So think about it. Take a step back from this situation. What do you want? Obviously, from what you've written, it sounds like you're looking for somebody to have a relationship with. You want a boyfriend, because that's what you were hoping this guy would be. Well, he's told you he can't be what it is that you want. Okay, great. You had fun for 3 months. You hooked up. Yeah, you're attached to him. But at the end of the day, your ultimate relationship goal, your relationship vision for your life, if you will, is to have a boyfriend. He can't offer you that. And that's why every second that you spend thinking about him, looking at him, and then trying to not make it look like you're looking at him, you need to focus on what you want, which is a guy who is ready, willing, and able, who has the same goals, has the same values as you do, and wants the same things. That's why it doesn't do you any bit of good to interact with this guy in any way. So go interact with other guys that could potentially give you what you want. And then if he starts telling you he's not sure, he's thinking about it, he misses you, blah, blah, if he's unsure of it, if he's not completely congruent and certain, just say, great, well, you go figure it out. And if you're 100% certain that you want to date me and you like something more than just a fuck buddy type arrangement, then you've got to communicate to me in a convincing way that you really mean that. And you're not just looking for another booty call. Because I ain't interested in being your booty call. And you got to stand up for yourself and what you want. So it's possible you can give this guy another chance, but you have to make sure that he tells you explicitly what he's going to do and why it's going to be different. And he also has to show you through his actions. But I would have to say that from everything you've shared, there's not a high likelihood of that. That's why the best thing you can do to help you with this is be focusing on meeting and talking to and interacting with the type of guys that you want, that are ready, willing, and able. In other words, they're single and ready to mingle. At a party the other day, he instantly came and sat next to me. I said, please, can you fuck off and stop talking to me and looking at me all the time? And he said, do you want me just to ignore you? Would that help you? And I said, yes. It would be like you and Stuart as they don't speak to each other. He said, but I don't love Stuart. Stuart hasn't been good to me. I said, you said you didn't love me and it's too late now. He kept prodding, talking, and flirting with me. I guess he still has feelings, but he's making it very difficult for me to move on. I don't know whether I should ask him to ignore me completely so I could just hang out with our friends without getting stressed out about him. It's very difficult for me to just make new friends or hang out somewhere else because we live in a lovely community with great benefits. I'd really appreciate some advice. Again, focus on what you want. He's the one who pushed you away. Therefore, he's got to be the one to fix things. If you want to give him another chance, he's got to communicate and convince you that he actually means it and he really does care. I mean, the fact that he's staring at you and he's having reasons to come over, it's possible, but it also could be that he's just lonely and wants another booty call. So, like I said, focus on what you want. Until he demonstrates that he can give you what you want or can be what you want, and he's convincing that he can be what you want, you need to keep looking elsewhere. As hard as it is, that's the best thing for you. And also, you should review the article that I did, 7 Principles to Get an Ex Back, because that will help you as well on what to say and how to make sure you stand up for yourself so you can negotiate and get the terms that you want the second time around. It would also help if you read my ebook on my website. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching session. You can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the Products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions for booking whichever option works best for you. And I will talk to you soon.